Hi, this is David Villade with Practical Software Solutions, and I was going to do an overview of Sage Intacct. So we'll start with some basics for anyone who is unfamiliar with Sage Intacct, or just so we have a little level setting so everyone can start from the same place. I'm running this instance of Sage Intacct in a web browser, and the name Sage Intacct tells us why. So Intacct is short for Internet Accounting. So unlike some products where you have a choice of having a local installation that you have to manage or having a cloud-based installation that is managed for you, Sage Intacct is 100% in the cloud. So all of the maintenance, everything is taken care of by Sage, which includes quarterly updates. These are not just bug fixes, these are actual improvements, enhancements to the software, additions for new features to push forward in an ever-changing world. And what I'm looking at here with my when I first log into Sage Intacct is a dashboard. Dashboards are a really common way to look at the system. And I see something else that's interesting I'll get to in a second here. This says top level, which is intriguing. I'll get there in a second. First thing I do, I'll drop down here on my role-based selector for my dashboards, and I'll pick something else here. And that's worth pointing out that I can have as many dashboards as I want. And role-based is a best practice. So I can have different people with different roles, have different security to see whatever they need to see. Now I'll get to that top level selector here. So if I hit this drop down at the top, I'll notice that I have 7, at least in this environment, entities or companies that I can see. So what does that mean? Let's take a step back. That means that all the numbers you see here can be made to show for all the companies that I have access to. That means a lot of good things. First off, I've had it over the years where I've had to make a different version of a P&L for every company that I have. Not so with Sage Intacct. We can make this one P&L here, and this could work for all companies. Now, if we remind ourselves by dropping down, I have a 100 USA 1 and a 200 USA 2. These companies are not named very well. They're named after the currency that they have, just for demo reasons. But also I have these little selectors here to the side, and the system will remember what I have here. I'll mention the date just to say that I've rolled the year back a number of years just because I wanted more complete demo data. But in real life, I probably would take this selector off entirely and just make it real time. I also have this drop down where I can see, hey, that's familiar. Those are the different locations that I had up above. I actually have more than that. So here I see USA 1, USA 2. So let's watch what happens here. If we look to the left here, we can see that I have AR of 3.2 million. And it might be a little subtle to pick out, but that's a clickable link. So I can drill in to see what that is. I'm going to come over here, though, and I'm going to switch to my USA 2 environment and apply that change. The system will remember that if that's how I like to work with this dashboard. And from 3 million down to 600,000. And all my numbers have changed, because now it's all being pointed at this one company. But if I go back and I go to my my operating locations here, I could see a consolidated financial. That's also interesting. You could have different groupings of companies. So you might want to segregate your rental properties from your leasing properties and all sorts of groupings that you might have. So I can do that here with the locations. I'll show an example here, though. This is particularly interesting if you're coming off of a smaller system like a QuickBooks, perhaps, but it's relevant anyway. I see this, it's relevant for anybody. I see this financial statement, and I can see this line here, revenue other, with $100,000 for the actuals and nothing budgeted. Well, that's interesting, right? Because I'm sure that my boss would want to know, hey, I'm happy that we have some revenue other, but what is it? Could I see? So I'm going to click on that and drill in, and the system gives me a report, which is helpful. And I can see there's 3 transactions, and most of it is this bottom one here. And I can see this one very simple GL account. Okay. Now in this environment I have, it looks like to be 5 digits, but it could be whatever, maybe 4, maybe 6, whatever we want to have there, but that's just what we have in this environment. But it's just very simple. I've been in other environments where you have what they call segments. So you can have some dashes in a very, very, very long account string. That's good because it works, because it's difficult to manage. Like I don't see a department here. I don't see a location. I don't see a lot of other information here. Well, I'm going to put on my programmer hat and customize this report. And instead of having to do any coding, I can make some selections. And at the bottom here, I have this choice to choose to show certain dimension values. So I could hit this add all, but let's take a second to look at what I have. I have departments, I have locations. I'm showing something that I've renamed to be line of business, but that could be class if you're coming from a QuickBooks environment. And a quick hesitation there, let me make a note on that. In QuickBooks, you have a class. It's like a dimension, but you only have one. So I've had so many customers over the years who have had to force everything into this one thing called class. So that might be a project and a department and any number of things. Well, here in Sage Intacct, we break them all up. So anytime I interact with a customer, the dimension is updated so I can run a report at a GL level. Imagine a P&L by customer or by vendor or by employee if I'm doing any kind of time and billing, or by items. Items are things that I can put on a sales document or a purchasing document. And projects, if I do construction or professional services, and on and on and on. So these are all dimensions. So I'm going to go back to my example. I'm going to add a few things. Let's add a department name, maybe a location name. Oh, what else? Maybe that's good. Maybe I'll add a project name. That might not be relevant. We'll find out. I'll say done. So that's it. I did my programming. System is asking me if I want to run the report for the full year. Why not? Let's have at it. And now I've customized this report to add this extra information. This will be here next time I run the report. I can see at a glance too that it looks like projects and departments weren't required for this account because I do have some blanks, but that's something we could set up when we implement the system. So back to what I was looking at though, I saw other, I wonder what that is. I want to click on that transaction here. And it's going to bring up an NAR transaction. And it looks like it's very old. That's okay. Demo data. I can see it's posted, hasn't been paid. No attachments. That's too bad. I could obviously attach anything here. And I could scroll down and I could move this around here. And I can see the accounting for the system. So I can see there's the revenue, department, line of business, and the, the memo of secret project, which is fascinating. So that's it. So hopefully if my boss is asking me, what is this transaction? I could say, oh, you know, the secret project. And there we have it. Now this is posted. And remember, this is very old in my environment. And in my environment, this period is open because it's just for demo. But I can see, oh, I didn't pick a line of business. Well, even though it's posted, as long as I have security, as long as the period's open, I can make a correction. So I can say that's for this service line. Or maybe that's the wrong location entirely. We put it to a whole other company. Maybe add other lines, make corrections as we go. And then I can hit post. So even though it's posted, I can change things and make corrections, which I think is great. It's right. To me, obviously I'm biased, but it's the right balance between moving quickly and also being able to fix your mistakes in Rally. I won't save this, but I will point up here just to point at the audit trail here. So if that whole changing of a transaction makes you nervous, know that you have this audit trail that's always being managed. Folks who are coming off of QuickBooks have probably been terrified of the fact that you can print a check made out to cash and then delete all traces of it. Not so with Intacct. Anytime we have any kind of transaction that touches cash, now we have to do voids. So the system puts up some things to protect us. And even when we do the change like I would do here, we can have different auditing throughout the system. So I'm not going to save that. System's trying to remind me that that's the case. So off I go and I come back here. That's pretty good. I'm going to show one more example. I'm going to switch to a different dashboard here. And this is for project performance. So if I'm doing any kind of construction or professional services, in this case, construction, I can see all sorts of great information. I can see all my active projects, projects by project manager, project type reporting, a backlog report, and on and on. And again, all customizable. If there's anything here I want to see or change, I can drag it around. And I can click in on any of these links. If I want to say, well, what is my project revenue? I can click on a box and I can see, oh, it's all construction income. And I can drill in and drill in and drill in and see the source documents for everything. So I had quite a bit of detail. There's my project name and on and on. Pretty good. Another reminder about the dashboard here is that I have all projects showing up, and I'll hit the drop down here. And just like we saw a second ago, where on my other dashboard, I could filter by company, here I can filter by projects. So types of projects, current projects, backlog projects. Maybe I want to, in this environment, I've made groupings of projects for hotels. So if I wanted to, or restaurants, let's say I'll pick hotels. I don't know what I'll see, but I'll apply that change. So all these numbers, we saw what they are. And when I hit the apply for that filter, I get to see updated numbers. So it looks like, I don't know if I remembered that quite well, but maybe half of the revenue was for hotels. So I can see the numbers update for that. Pretty powerful. So that's just a quick glance at what we get with Sage Intacct. But it's a full featured system, full ERP. If I hit the drop down just to show, we obviously have our cash management here where we can connect to banks, accounts payable. We even have AP bill automation to automate the creation of bills off of PDFs from our vendors if needed, whole purchasing process. We're able to tailor the platform to our needs by adding smart rules and smart events. And you can see the rest here, all for the taking, all great features, all within Sage Intacct. This is just a start, just an intro. Hopefully that makes you interested and you want to give us a call over at Practical Software Solutions and see more. Thanks for your time. Look forward to talking to you soon.